We're continuing, as I said, Unit 11, page 12. The question, we were discussing the question of, in Unit 11, broadly speaking, we were discussing the access to the land and the access to the fruit. Is the mitzvah, the chiyuv, to go out of your way and mufkir the fruit, or is it automatically mufkar already? Now, we mentioned, just in passing, we mentioned the ptor from Trumot Maasrot, right? Shmita fruit does not have Trumot Maasrot. Why not? So you could say, well, basically two ways of looking at it. You can say the first year you have Trumot Maasrot and Maser Shani. Same for the second year. Third year you have a new thing, right? Trumot Maasrot, Maser Ani. Then you go again. Fourth year is like the first year. Trumot Maasrot, Maser Shani. Fifth year is Trumot Maasrot, Maser Shani. The sixth year goes back like the third year. Trumot Maasrot, Maser Shani. All right. You get to the seventh year. What do you have there? Right. So nothing. No Trumot Maasrot. Why? Because it's not the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth year. So there's no Trumot Maasrot. Now, or the fruit have its own category. But the category doesn't matter right now. We say other way around. The category does matter. The hefker is what makes it patur. Right? We saw briefly in the Gemara last week. The Gemara said, "Why should it be patur? It's not shmita." You say, "Yeah, but lamaisi you're mafkir." So are those two separate things or not?
So counting the year with respect to Trumat Maser and other things, or something like Orlo, fourth year, a shmita year is
Right.
part of the year.
Right.
So we're still counting all those things. Still maintain their count with respect to shmita. It's just not a year that we're not ignoring. We're just saying that it doesn't fall on those years. It's still part of the official counting. So I think that it still holds.
What do you mean by still holds?
I mean that it just isn't Trumot Maasrot. It's not that it doesn't exist in the shmita years.
The fruit does, and they have their own halachic categories in terms of Trumot Maasrot, and their own categories happen to be no Trumot Maasrot. One way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is it's hefker anyway. Right, exactly. It's his problem, not mine. Why? No, but if no, that's not the point. It's more than the point. It's all hefker fruit. If they all hefker fruit is always patur from Trumot Maasrot. If you pick fruit from a hefker tree, there's no Trumot Maasrot ever. Because it's not sadcha, not kalmecha, not taza. Oh yeah, no, right. The tree, right. But if the tree doesn't belong to you, but if you took it from the tree, now it does belong to you. Does that make a difference? It doesn't. So that's the. All right. So what the nafkamina, two classic nafkamina would be someone who isn't mufkir and puts barbed wires around his fields, and no one's going to take that fruit. Right? So it's not hefker on the seventh year or the Trumot Maasrot. So one question.
Not for him. He doesn't let you in.
Right. He's not mafkir.
Maybe he's not.
What do you mean? Maybe it's automatic. Oh, very good. So if it's automatic, so it doesn't matter whether he's mafkir or not. It is hefker. He just isn't aware of it and isn't.
What's the status of the fruit if someone didn't do that? Let's talk about grapes.
Okay.
The guy's not religious, and he becomes a tshuva after Shmita.
Yeah.
And now he wants to crush and make wine with those grapes. He's a winemaker. Originally.
Okay. Yeah.
So what's the status of all that fruit that was not made hefker that nobody
In what sense are you asking?
used later? I mean, they become usher.
Oh, okay. So in terms of the Isur, we learned this in Unit 7, that Shamur v'nevad, there are some Rishonim who say Shamur v'nevad is Asur. Most Rishonim disagree. It doesn't become Asur because you were either not mafkir it or working the field, right? That's Shamur and Nevad. Right? That's now. Are they Shmita fruit? Do they have Kedusha? The answer is yes, they have Kedusha. Are they exempt of Trumot Maasrot? That would depend on our question, right? If I say all Shemitah fruit is over to the Maasrot because it's that year, that's the Shemitah, that's the Maasrot status of Shemitah fruit, of Kadosh Shemitah fruit, so it would be exempt even though he wasn't mafkir. If I say what exempts it what exempts it of Shemitah Maasrot is that you were mafkir,
And it'd be required in that case.
so that would be required.
But to be fair, it's sort of a silly question if he's not going to be mocked there. I think what makes me think he's going to get Shmita. That's what.
But it is significant if I know he did it and I buy his wine. Right?
That was the question. So others, so some say they would usher it, others say for Shmita purpose, others say that most say they wouldn't. But if he didn't do it, then he has an issue with Shmita potentially.
Now, what about a goy's field? All right. So the question is, there does it work the same? So there's a very famous machlokut in the Maharit and the Mabit, the Maharit and the Mabit, sorry, on one side, and the Beit Yosef, right, Yosef Kara on the other side. Let's have a look at the Mabit. This is going to be very significant. Where, in what context? It's Maasrot, who cares? But where does this really matter? The Chri's land, what? Yeah, the whole Heter Bechira question, right, hinges on this Machloket Mabit and Beit Yosef. We can get back to that in unit 20. Zal Hashem, very soon. Anyway, says the Mabit, Nish'ol nish'al me'imadi al inyan gidurei shnat hashmita bekarka goy ulkacha Yisrael kodem miroch umircha, because if the goy reaps it and stacks it, so it's patur, the Jew has to buy the fruit first. It's patur from Dod Maasrot always. The question is only relevant if the Jew buys the fruit last minute before the guy picks it, right? And then he picks it, reaps it. The other he picked it, he's patur. We are patur. אם חייבים במעשרות כשאר שנים שמאסרים על לקוח מן הגוי ונתברך בעד ישראל מדרבנן, כיוון שהם אינם מפקירים שדותיהם בשנת השמיטה, או דילמה כיוון שמצוות שביעית חובת קרקע לישראל בארץ ישראל, אין בחיוב מעשרות כלל. They definitively not have שנות המעשרות. הייתה להם תשובתי, כי אין שום חיוב בארץ ישראל מעשרות בשנת השמיטה, אפילו מהלקוח מיד גוי קודם רוח ומלכו ישראל. So, it just does not exist. Why? כי מהתורה אין חיוב כלל בשנת השמיטה במעשרות. תכתיב בנת השמיטה ואכלו אבן עמך ויתרם, תאכל חיית השדה, הקיש אדם לחיה, מה חיה אוכל מן הראוי לה, שלא מן המעשר בשביעית, אף אדם אוכל מן הראוי לו שלא מן המעשר בשביעית, וכיוון שמדאורייתא אין שום חיוב לישראל בשנת השמיטה, גם לגוי אין שום חיוב, אפילו מדרבנן. לא יתחייבו פירות קרקע גוי, אלא במידי הווה דישראל, הווה חייב אם מדאורייתא מדרבנן. ומה שאין שום עיקר איסור לישראל, לא מדאורייתא מדרבנן, כל שכן מגוי אין שום חיוב אפילו מדרבנן. So basically takes the root that says, Shmita fruit is exempt of Shmita Maasrot, period. I don't care whose it is, why it is, what they did with it, doesn't matter. The 7th year is not a year of Shmita Maasrot at all. So, או ממש לא מחייב, זה שנת שמיטה, כל שכן מרוח גדלים בקרקע גוי, מאחיתייסי חיובי הוא, אין שום חיוב בשנת השמיטה. לכן כתבו כל הפוסקים, שתם שנת השמיטה כולה הפקר, אין בה שום חיוב, לא תרומה, לא מעשות כלל, לא ראשון, לא שני, לא מעשר עני, ואם ידע דפות קרקע גוי שמדרכה מישראל בארץ ישראל חייבים מעשר, למה לא מסתם? Does not exist, does not happen, nothing. No trumot, no maasrot, shmita. Done. So that's אם תתעקש לומר, כי לא פטרה התורה ממעשרות, אלא משהו הפקר שהם פירות ישראל. פירות גוי שאינו מפקירם, יהיו חייבים? לא. דעת ישראל שגר כמוהו ולא יפקר שנת השמיטה יחייב במעשר? Will you tell me that a Jew who does not mafkir his field, so then suddenly there would be chiyuv to Maasrot? This is ridiculous, does not make sense. So you notice that the important words for our unit are meaning, since the hefker is automatic now, maybe these people aren't adhering to the hefker. Beseder, that's their problem. They're not beseder or whatever. But that doesn't suddenly create a chiyuv to Maasrot. So the Mabit takes very clearly that direction. It says, Goy's field, any field. There's no Torah Maasrot in Shmita, period. Now, you'll note that whose? Hashem was mafkir the land. Whose land? Eretz Israel. Also the Goy's. Right? No, that's surprising. We could have said that Shmita is about the relationship between us and the land, between Am Yisrael and the land. So if you own land, Hashem is mafkir it. But if the Goy owns it, he owns it. He's
Time again, the land itself has to, the land has its own obligations, its own mitzvahs that are beyond whether we're there or not.
all right. So you're
much the
making
case that we're not even there. There are also promises of what happens to the land by Hashem.
right. Just a second, Rav Baruch. You're making two assumptions here. Number one, that there's an obligation that we're going to define halacha based on the idea that the land has to rest as well. We've touched upon that. It's not something you've invented. I'm just saying it's not exactly the mainstream understanding in the Rishonim. So that's fine. You can follow them. Mabbis can follow them. It's all good. The second tier is to say that what we mentioned last time, that everything is mufkar regardless of whether you enact the hefker, which is also fine. I'm just saying, right? There is an obligation the land will rest. There is some kind of necessity the land will rest. Now the goyim are not going to allow the land to rest. That's their problem. But the hefker happens anyway, right? You have to say both those things to say what you're saying, which is fine. It's well established. We've touched such opinions in the past. I'm just pointing out that what the assumptions are. But just Sekrev Baruch.
So couldn't we say, if it's Shvit, that Kili Kol Haaretz, that now it doesn't belong to us at all.
Mhm.
It's really Hashem's.
Right.
And therefore the issue of Maser, it's not ours.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
I think what you're saying would be a good, if you want to say what
It's a good drush. I don't know.
Oh no. So it's deeper. I'm saying what you're saying would be very helpful to Glenn's svara, right? In other words, the Mabit, the Maharit, the Mabit, Maharit, and Glenn. That's a good, have a good team here. They'll all agree with this idea that Kili Haaretz means I've already taken it back, right? It's fundamentally mine always, because the way we usually read Kili Haaretz is, it's always mine. So I'll tell you when to do what, right? You say, no, Kili Haaretz means I've taken it back during Shmita, which again, you guys haven't invented. It's fine. It's well established. It's a well-established opinion. Just important to note that's what's going on here. I want to compare this to Rav Yosef Karen, the Avkat Rochel, Reiti Mashkatav HaChacham, the Maharit. Liftor Avkat Rochel is the shoot of Rav Yosef Karen's shoot. Rav Yosef Karen wrote a couple of books, right? Mainly Beit Yosef, Shulchan Aruch, Kesef Mishnah, right? It's a pretty mainstream posek. Anyway, Reiti Mashkatav HaChacham, maybe possibly the definitively mainstream. Anyway, ראיתי מה שכתב החכם מרית לפתור לפתור בשביעית במעשרות גידולי שנת השמיטה בקרק גואל, וככה מישראל ממנה קודם ברוח מרחן. טענה ראשונה, כי מן התורה אין בשנת השמיטה חיוב מעשרות. He says, definition, the seventh year just is exempt of Maasrot, is bereft of Maasrot. אני אומר כי משהו סובר שהוא עיקשות, הוא היושר. You saw that coming from a mile away. That's why you laughed when he says Mikesh, right? So the Mabit says, if you'll insist, and he says, actually, that's not just what I'm insisting, it just happens to be the truth. Right? כי לא נפטרו פירות שביעית ממעשרות אלא מטעם הפקר, וכל שאינו מופקר לא נפטר ממעשרות. The only reason it's hefker is because it's the only reason it's patur from Maasrot is because it's hefker. מה שטענו עטו ישראל שגדלה כמוהו ולא יפקרו, יש לומר שזה כמודיע דבר בסתום ממנו. יקראנו בעין הכי נמי, שהיא חייבת אף על גב דרחמנה הפקרה, כיוון דיו לא הפקרי. אפילו נצא לומר דפטורה, יקראנו בעין מרשני אתם דרחמנה הפקרי, מה שאין כן בשל גו. So he says three tiers. First of all, he says, whatever you were mafkir, so you need to mafkir. If you were mafkir, then it's exempt of truma, and if you weren't, you're not. That's number one. Number two, when he says, and if a Jew would put a fence around his field, of course he'd be potter, right? Says, that's called assuming, there's a return for this, right? Go on. Shor de Maasrot. Yeah. He'd say, of course the Jew would be potter in Shor de Maasrot. He says, you're proving the exemption here based on your assumption that you haven't proved, right? By the way, and then he ends up in saying, even if we knew what the din would be with the Jew, that still wouldn't tell us anything about the goy. Right? I'll explain this. Beit Yosef has two theories. Theory number one, that theory number one is that it's only potter because it's hefker. Sorry, that'll be the going theory either way. It's only potter because it's hefker. Now, when I say it's because it's hefker, what do I mean? One of two options. Either because you actively were mafkir, in which case anyone who is not actively mafkir is not potter, be that goy, be that non-from Jew. So, or or it's based on the relationship between, or Hashem is mafkir for you, but whose land is Hashem mafkir for? Jews, not goyim. But if it's on you to mafkir, so if you're from Jew, you're mafkir. If you're not, so you weren't. And then it won't be potter. But if it's based on Hashem's hefker, then I could argue Hashem is mafkir everything that's owned by Jews. Why would Hashem mafkir things that are goyim? It's a goy. Why should Hashem mafkir? So the nafkamina between these two would be what happens to a non-from person. Oh, so then that would be the nafkamina. If I say it's a matter of Hashem is mafkir, but only a Jew's land, so he's a Jew. He's not keeping the din, so what? That's his problem. But right, halach won't change. If I say the point is, if I say that no, you have to mafkir and only then it's exempt, so only if you're mafkir. So if a non-from Jew's field would be chayv and Shor de Maasrot.
So what would be the problem?
That's the basic machloket between.